Well, welcome back to SAFC Live. Sunderland have come through a hard-fought victory this afternoon down at Priestfield. 2-1 in the end, Danny, and it was a game that had it all.
It did, yeah. Action at both ends, sending off, which we'll have a look back at in a minute or two. But no, the lads, credit to them, come out second half, much better. First 10, 15 minutes of that second half, on top, tidier on the ball, get the goal, and then obviously Elliot Embleton gets sent off. Backs to the wall for that last 20, 25 minutes, but credit to the boys, they dug in, defended well. Hoffman made a couple of good saves, and we're back on the bus with him. 3 points.
Let's have a look at the match action then, and you can talk us through some of the key moments. And it was the first half where Sunderland just didn't click.
Didn't click at all, no. Nearly balls, wasn't it, for me? I think, see that one there, prime example. He's almost in there. It's that 15, 20 yarder, and we either under-hit passes or we were just putting a little bit too much on it. And no, you give credit to Gillingham. You know what they're all about. They're looking at getting balls up into our final third as quick as they can, whether it's corners, free kicks, throw-ins, all coming in. You see it here now. If you don't win that first ball, there's a big panic going on in the 18-yard box, 6-yard box there. Another one here. We don't close the ball down. Another ball comes in. Rudane Oliver gets up well, and thankfully it's a yard or two over the top of the crossbar. So they had their moments. I think Carriol has an opportunity as well.
Did Gillingham have a lot more than you were expecting this afternoon?
As in terms of chances or possession? Yeah, chances. Not really. I expected them to have the type of chances they did. 4 or 5 good chances, didn't they? And in the second half, they had 1 or 2 as well.
Is the penalty score
there's the penalty as well. Yeah, we're just getting a little bit of a mess. I think when the ball comes back to Tom Flanagan, he's backpedaling. I can see why, because he thinks he's got to make a yard or two of space to create some power, but doesn't deal with it. And then it drops to between Luke O'Nien, and his man comes on his blind side. Thinks he's got time to clear it, and he clatters through him, and it's a penalty. You can see there's no arguments. This one here, Dan Neil does brilliantly, and I said we'll see Tom Flanagan's goal in a minute, and that's the one I was on about, where I think Winchester sees that back, and he knows, because he puts his hand on his head thinking, if I take a gamble there, I'm getting myself a goal at the far post. I've got the run on me man, by that meaning he's got a run and he jump, he'll power over the top of him, and he's probably getting himself a goal at the far post. But we did have moments towards the end of the first half, and you can see where we were getting a little bit of joy was when we were dragging them out wide, because today, obviously, without Lyndon Gooch, without Aidan Bagidi, Diaku, any natural width, we found it difficult to get into those spaces. See that effort from Carriol there just past the post. But then you're getting Winchester and Sirkin higher up on the wings, Elliot Embleton, Pritchard were pulling out, they were having to come out of those slots to try and create that little bit of space out wide, and even Dan Neil, and we'll see the goal in a second where he pulls out, nobody comes with him, and he puts the ball in for the goal, which we'll see in a minute. I think Dempsey here just skips through 1 or 2, and fortunately it ricochets just into the path of Hoffman, who clears it. See here now, these areas now where we were getting a little bit of space. We're unlucky here, a little give and go. Just that yard of pace on it. He's unlucky, Elliot Embleton reversing it to Winchester on the underlap. And here's the goal now. See, from throwing on the right-hand side, we work it across the pitch. Comes to Pritchard, comes back over to this right-hand side and says, Dan Neil, 5 or 10 yards of space. We've seen him midweek, he put the ball in, down at Lincoln, wasn't it, for that second goal. Similar area, but from this right-hand side, he bends a lovely ball in. Keeper doesn't want to come and get involved. Just over the top of Ross Stewart, and there's Aidan O'Brien coming in behind him with a great finish. You see it back now. It's a difficult one for Aidan O'Brien because it skips up just before him. Has to meet it almost on the half volley, but he slides in with the outside of his right foot and just pushes it into the net. And then we come out second half, we were a bit of energy about us. Say Lee Johnson's probably had a few words at half time. Yes, we've gone in level, but I think he's got amongst the players, knows it wasn't good enough. And we had a good spell at that 10-15 minutes here, down that right hand side. First ball comes in, it's not great. Ross Stewart does brilliant there, doesn't give it up, rescues it, comes to Pritchard, stands a great ball up at the far post, and Tom Flanagan's still up there from the corner. He could quite easily, I think the opportunity's gone away, jogging back towards the halfway line, but he thinks, no, do you know what, I'm going to stay around, see if I get another opportunity.
And brave as well.
And brave, yeah, and look at that there, because Jackson's not in a bad position there, the fullback, but Tom Flanagan's probably a foot taller than him. But it's not only about that, it's the desire and the will, and he just wants it more than Jackson, and he gets up above him, powers it, and he gets a bit of a bang as well for it. But
Sirkin stuttering there, but he did well in that move.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it was a good give and go, and I think just an opportunity, as you see, whether he's lost his footing or he just changed his mind instead of pulling the trigger.
And we said that would have been a good goal for Winchester, but just straight offside.
Just a yard offside, wasn't it? He'd done well as well, chopped his man, and unfortunately, just offside. And then Gillingham did come into it. Akinde comes on. He's seen there a little little bit of head tennis really, pops it back into Vinian Oliver's path, chest and volley. Thankfully, like one or two of those efforts in the first half, just wide of Hoffman's post. But the game was getting a little bit stretched. I thought when we got the goal as well, Gillingham were on the ropes as well. They looked leggy. One or two of them were blowing. Here's the offside. The sending off now. See,
big moment in the game.
Yeah, he goes flying. People will say he's out of control. Again, if you can see it back and slow it down, you see Bennett, the centre half. He's round the problem is that Embleton, see, just gets nicked off him there now, and he pops it and he wants to go and rescue it. There's a bit of panic sets in. I've got to rescue it for my team, and he sort of slides in. Do you know what I mean? People are going to argue it's a red.
Is it the reaction? Look, I mean, look directly behind the incident. The bench, the Gillingham bench are behind, and they're screaming for the decision. Steve Evans and his assistant, plus all the Gillingham
and then
players
the big centre
surround
half
the
comes in,
referee.
Bennett there, and he's onto Embleton, and he's in his face, and then the refs. It's one of them. I think can go either way. You know, yes, he's caught him. People will say he's out of control, but I don't think he goes and foot studs firmly up, if you know what I mean. He sort of slides it, and he does catch him. So Elliot Embleton didn't argue it too much. I don't think our bench argued it. So, but we've held on.
A big moment in the game, but you know, from that moment, it was pretty much back to the walls.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because it sort of took the stuffing out of us a bit because we were on top. We were doing well. Yes, they brought Akinde on to go a little bit more direct than they already had. But then you know that it's like a psychological thing where you know you're down to 10 men and Bailey Wright comes on. Although Lee Johnson didn't change it to a back five today, he just brought Bailey on at right back and he put Winchester right in midfield ahead of him. Went to a 4-4-1 really. But they kept chucking these type of balls in. And this one here, and that's a 15, 20 yard header, isn't it? He does.
Saves it on the post.
He does well there, Hoffman. Yeah, full stretch, just tips it onto his post.
I'm going to see another Hoffman.
There's another one here. Yeah, this is that cross which just pulled in behind O'Keefe. It's a good strike, reaching for it behind him, but it's straight at Hoffman. It's a comfortable one, and he was being clever. Hoffman, he was wearing the clock down. The ref had a couple of words with him, and this is the one I thought he'd give a penalty here because I thought he just.
Kinde goes down.
Who's he going in with there? Is it Sirkin? Is it? Oh, no, it's Doyle that comes in with him, and I thought he just rolled him. John, I've played against the Kinde a few times, and he's a big, powerful boy, and you don't want to get too tight because that's what he wants. He wants to feel you, and he wants to roll you. And I thought he'd done that there to Callum Doyle, and he went over. And I thought I heard a roar off the crowd because the ref had gone out of picture then.
Yeah, the crowd were expectant of it.
And I thought he'd give the penalty, but thankfully he never. And we managed to dig the result out, and it's a massive one. We haven't seen the scores yet. We're going to have a look in a second. But at half time, I know that results were going against us for the other teams above us. So let's have a look.
Let's have a look indeed. Then these are the scores in and around EFL League One. Let me just shout them out for you. AFC Wimbledon 2, Sheffield Wednesday 2, Bolton 0, Wigan 4. Cambridge 2, Ipswich 2, Cheltenham 1, Accrington 0, Doncaster 0, Wickham 2, Fleetwood 3, Crewe 0, Lincoln 2, Charlton 1, Oxford United 1, Plymouth 3, Rotherham 4, Portsmouth 1, Shrewsbury Town 1, MK Dons 0. Let's see what that does to the EFL League One. Of course, Sunderland a couple of games behind everyone now at the moment, but...
Yeah, but it was vital that we won. You see there, Plymouth won, Wickham won, Wigan 4-0 winners at Bolton as well. And I thought Bolton were decent up here. So, and it's strange, isn't it? You know, Portsmouth beat us 4-0. I think they got beat 4-1 today against Rotherham. So it's a topsy-turvy league.
Sitting on 11, and on 25 points. Wigan above it, same, obviously on goal difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I would say, still in our hands. I wouldn't even be looking at that yet, but we're staying with the pack, aren't we? You know, it was vital. If we'd have picked up a point there or we'd been beat.
You know, still a point behind top place with 2 games in hand. Yeah.
And if we hadn't have won today and you get back on the bus, and as you do, the lads will have the Sky Sports News or whatever on the results coming in, and you look at that and you think, oh, God, all the teams above us have won as well. So it's a massive result that is today.
Okay, then, that's how League One looks this evening. We're going to hear from yourselves now as we have a look at some of your hashtags and hashtag Ask Danny. It's the part of the programme where we ask you, the viewers, to get involved. And this is our first one from Owen, who says that goal is what Flanagan's performances this season deserve one of our players of the season. Yeah, no, I agree with him there. I think at the start of the season, I perhaps don't think he would have been first choice. You know, we bring Doyle in. Obviously, Jamajli's injured. You've got Willis, Bailey Wright, so there's good competition. We bring Alves in as well. And I think Tom Flanagan, since first game of the season, I think he's been excellent. I've got to be honest. I think he's had his doubters in the past. Yes, he's made mistakes, but everybody does, you know, top level down.
and he's gone about his performance. He's been away as well, hasn't he? I think, did he play both games? I think they had one.
Certainly
played in
involved
the second one
during the week, yeah.
Comes back there today, and no, I thought he was excellent again. He would have known today coming down here what was expected. Coming up against Verdane Oliver, who was a big threat in the air, handled him pretty well all afternoon, I think. Yeah, his part in the penalty, maybe when he looks at it back, I think just step forward and clear it down the line. But goes and gets us the winning goal today. And as Owen's mentioned there, thoroughly deserved it because of his performances this season so far. He's been a standout performer for me.
Okay, thanks for your hashtag. Let's move on to the next one. This one's from D, who says, should Wern get a chance? Stephen Wern, of course, who scored in consecutive games. He didn't feature this afternoon. Maybe he might have if things have gone a bit differently.
Yeah, I think it's that. He's on the bench there, and Lee Johnson, if that 60 minutes where we were good up to there, got the goal, we were comfortable in terms of we were better on the ball and moved it around the pitch a lot better. Maybe he's looking at bringing him on for an Embleton or a Pritchard later on, giving him 10, 15 minutes, a bit of energy, freshen it up. That goes away from, unfortunately, Elliot Embleton gets sent off. And then Pritchard went off as well not long after, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then your back's to the wall. But no, listen, I think he'll get opportunities. We're obviously short on numbers as it stands. We've got seven lads in the treatment room at this moment in time. He's not done himself any harm, certainly in midweek. He's got himself, as mentioned there, back-to-back goals. And I think he's got a bright future. He's just got to keep learning and keep listening. He's in and around it, travelling today. You learn as well, I think, for these young boys, he hasn't got on the pitch, but just being in and around the first team as well. It's a completely different environment to what you're used to with the 23s.
Being in the dressing room at half-time.
Dressing room, I say you're becoming a man by being in this environment. Not to say that rollickings don't go on at half-time at younger levels, but I'm sure at half-time today, when Lee Johnson's come in there, he's teeing into a few of the boys after that first half performance. It'll be an eye-opener for himself. For Will Harris, Sona's in there, all these young boys becoming a part of it. And it's that bridging gap for these young lads now where they're doing well at the 23s level. They've got to sniff there's an opportunity for them at this moment in time because we've got injuries. I know you've got McGeady, Gooch, aren't far off coming back into it, but they've got to keep doing it when they get an opportunity. In the Papa Johns, in the 23s, Lee Johnson, I'm sure, watches these games as well. Or if not, he'll watch tapes back of these young lads as well because he knows that they're next in line to come into it. As we said, when you've got these injuries that we have, he's got to be knowing that these boys are ready to step in and can they do it for us.
Okay, thanks, Dee. Let's move on to the next one then, please. This one's from Fletcher, who says, we needed Danny Collins to give some lessons in calmness to our defence. We keep on panicking. Keep it tight, lads. We can hang on and win this. It was obviously sent during the closing stages of the game, but it was very tense at the time, wasn't it, watching that? I watching that, I felt like I was watching the clock from like 75 minutes.
Yeah, it was. And as soon as the sending off happened, you sort of know what's going to happen. Yeah. And I've said how much it affects a team. I think it's more psychological, a mentality thing where you have a man sent off. Now, instead of a 4-4-2, for instance, you just go 4-4-1. You've lost an attacking threat. But nothing changes really in terms of your defensive units, your midfield.
Yeah, I think we said in comms as well. Normally we just have Ross Stewart up top.
Yeah, you've got Ross anyway. I know you're Aidan O'Brien or whoever running off him, so you haven't got that outlet as much. So you could argue, well, yes, it does come back. But I still think we're good enough and perhaps better than what we showed. I know the lads were leggy by the end because it saps the energy when you're working off the ball. You're not getting a touch. You're just constantly shifting in your shape, being organised, making sure you're not out of place and that ball gets threaded in behind you. And then you haven't got that energy to obviously, when you win the ball, to counter-attack. But I do think we could manage the game a little bit better. Not just today. I know what he's mentioned there. In previous games this season, we've obviously brought Bailey Wright on at times and others, and we've looked nervy. And that is a mentality thing more than anything. You see the scoreboard, you see the clocks getting towards the end of the game, 85 minutes, and you're thinking, we're going to hang on. You don't really want to overcommit and go and try and get a third goal because you could get done on the counter. But then you're deep and you're not getting out and you're inviting pressure on. And Lee Johnson said it's a catch-22 situation. Which way do you approach it? But I just think you don't maybe have to go and try and get another goal, but you can manage the game better, be possession, look after the ball better. And I think we've got technical players in there, Dan Neils, Luke O'Nien, Pritchard, Embleton, these lads who can look after the ball a little bit better than what we've, certainly showed in the first half, but when you're under the cosh a little bit and, certainly when you've got a man down.
Okay, thanks, Fletcher's Locks. And this one's from Christian, who says, have we missed McGeady and Gooch the I think he's a fan of McGeady. He's got McGeady as
He's up there, yeah.
He's the thumbnail picture as well. Are we missing that balance on the wings? We certainly missed a bit of width this afternoon, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so. I think looking back on the highlights, prime example, when we hurt them, we got it into those wide areas, just maybe 10, 15 yards before the 18-yard box in those areas, and we were getting time and space. Carriol wasn't, I mean, he's a winger, isn't he? He doesn't want to be running back towards his own goal, so there was a little bit of space, but because we haven't got natural wingers today, and that's no fault of our own, it's because they're all injured. You know, the two there he's mentioned, Dayaku. Yeah. Have I missed any others? I'm not sure, but we haven't got them out there, so we've changed the system. We've gone a little bit narrower today to try and maybe counteract their direct balls as well. You know, Luke O'Nien screening, Dan Neil in alongside him, and then Embleton and Pritchard narrow as a two in behind Ross and Aidan O'Brien as well. But I think second half as well, we started the half well because we're getting down that right-hand side, link-up play. Winchester's getting forward. Embleton was coming out of that sort of middle area as well, and it drags them about, and that's where we've got joy. But we didn't have any direct runners, really. You know, Gooch likes to pick the ball up and run at his full-back, and with them having no natural full-backs really today, I think on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, Mackenzie playing there. We could have done with the Gooch and Aidan McGeady, 1v1, dribbling at these boys. We didn't have it, so you have to look at another avenue and another way of winning a match, and we've managed to do that today. But I don't think these two are too far off getting back into action now, hopefully.
Okay, then let's move on to the final one then. This one's from Glenn, who says, do you, Danny, do you think the nature of that win will help the players in the long run this season to come, and travelling fans enjoy the journey home? I'm sure they will after a victory. What does it mean for the squad then, as Glenn says, really, you're getting back on the coach, the fans will be happy, travelling back and one of the longest journeys of the season as well. But the players themselves, they'll take a lot from that victory, won't they?
Massive, yeah. After what happened at Portsmouth as well, you're going away against a direct side, Portsmouth. It was a difficult game to judge for me as well. I just don't think if you isolate the goals, we didn't defend them well enough. In general play, there wasn't a lot in the game between the two sides. Today, we knew what was coming down there. We know Callum Doyle's going to have to be big and strong, Tom Flanagan as they were, and do that ugly side of the game better. And I think we managed that. A lot of balls came in second half. We got on the end of it, a lot of crosses that were coming in. Ross Stewart helping out as well. But yeah, the boys will get back on there today, and that'll be a massive win. And sometimes, and certainly as an ex-defender, you enjoy those a lot more than the 3 or 4-0 type of Cheltenham games, for instance, where you're not having to defend a lot.
Ones when you feel you've been in a real battle.
Yeah, it's a comfortable win. Cheltenham was a comfortable win, wasn't it? It was easy for us that night, and we played through them. It could have been about 8 or 9. Today, this is where you've earned your corners as a defender, and you go down there, you roll your sleeves up, and you've come off that pitch in your battle. You see Sirkin picked up a bit of an injury. Luke O'Nien went down injured. There was a few bumps going on, and that's what you've got to have to expect playing at this level, going to places like Gillingham where, Gillingham, people will say, oh, they're a horrible team to watch, they're direct. Well, if you look at the Premier League, you've got your Burnleys. Burnley aren't going to go to Manchester City or to Liverpool and try and out-football teams. They play to their strengths, and their strengths are they've got 2 big units up top. Obviously, Akinde came on. They get the ball forward, and that's what they do. They play in the opposition's half, but we handled it fairly well today, I'd say. Okay,
Danny, thanks for that. You can join us again here on SAFC Live as Sunderland are almost straight back in action on Tuesday evening. We're heading down to Gresty Road, now called the Mornflake Stadium, I'll have you know. 7:45 kickoff for that one. We'll be on air from around 7:15 here on SAFC Live. And because it's not a Saturday at 3 p.m, it is available to be purchased within the United Kingdom as well. So hopefully we'll see a lot more fans logging on for that one. Okay then, thanks for being with us this afternoon. From myself and Danny, it's another 3 points for Sunderland.